Hey, welcome back my Seahorse Knight. Today, we'll actually make the back fin and finalize the shape of our seahorse. Then, we'll add the eyes I prepared for you. So in the description of a video, you will find a zip file. Download it, extract it, and inside of it, you will have the cute eyes for your seahorse. The tutorial on how to make them is available on my Patreon. And don't worry, we'll go through the process on how to add them, but first I want to actually rename the parts of our seahorse to know which one is which. So in the viewport, I will select the head, and you can see it is also selected in the object outliner. Then, by double clicking on the name, it gives me the option to rename it. So this one, I will rename the seahorse head. And do not worry, this is just personal preference. You can rename it however you want or see fit. Or if you're working in the industry, you will have a sort of a code you need to follow when renaming. Now I will select the body. And the good thing is I do not need to type the seahorse every time. I just can use the name I had already given, select it, Ctrl C to copy it, and then I will select the body and paste the seahorse there. Now I will just make sure I type in the body. And here we have it. And of course, as you can see, we can select in the viewport and it is selected in the outliner and it will be shown in the object mode or the viewport. Here I will just rename this to seahorse tail. And the last part is going to be the seahorse side fin. And now we will proceed onto the back fin. It might look intimidating to make, but the good thing is in Blender, you can achieve the same result in multiple different ways. So we will do that by adding toruses. But first, this seahorse is sorta in a way. We have multiple objects in the scene and it can get hard to see things. So by selecting one part, I can press H to hide it. You can see it is not selected and it is not visible. By pressing A, I can select all the objects in the scene and press H to hide them. It's pretty useful. They are not deleted, they still exist. They are at least visible in the outline. But to unhide the objects, you need to press Alt H. So once again, I'm going to hide the seahorse. And let me just position my cursor with Ctrl S cursor to world origin. So let us actually go to the mesh and add a torus. But before we click anywhere on the screen, we want to select the panel here. So it will actually give us few options we can configure, and it only appears if you do not click anywhere on the screen when you add it. So the minor radius I will actually set to 0.9, and I will do the same thing for the major radius, to 0.9. Of course, you can use the arrows to configure the size or even drag it around, but I like to type it because for me it is most efficient. Now you can see we have a very fat donut, which is exactly what we want. Now I'll just make sure I rotate it, press Y to rotate it around the Y axis and then type in 90 and enter. That way it is going to be facing the way we want it to. Now I will just press Alt H to unhide the seahorse, and I will just go to the edit mode, scale it, and then position it on top of the head. As you can see, there are approximately 12 fins on the seahorse, but what we are going to count is actually the amount of times it just curves inwards, so which means we will need about 14 toruses. And so we are going to make those by just duplicating and then positioning them from the side view. This is going to be much more efficient than sculpting all of them individually using the snake hook brush. As you can see, I'm digging them into the head about halfway down and just now looking at the scale. So press Shift D to duplicate it. And you can see it duplicates it and selects it for you automatically, so you can just position it. So I'm just using G, clicking to position it. and sort of just blocking out the main shape. I'm just counting them also. And if you noticed, even though we're adding all these toruses, they're not added in our outliner. Think of them as like a part of the same object. All those toruses are now one single torus. Let me just position this. Or think as every torus as an orange. I like to think of it as an orange because it is actually orange when you select it. Let me just count them once again. And each orange in edit mode can be moved individually. You can grab them. We can select the individual toruses by pressing L and while hovering over them. Picture this. Every torus is an orange we can grab and move around or eat. Each torus is called a mesh. And later when we go to the object mode, we are no longer editing the mesh or moving the oranges. Instead, we will be able to move all of them, like they're in a plastic bag or in a container. And if we enter edit mode, we can select and move each orange separately. For example, we are hungry, we want to eat an orange. Or make a smoothie even, they make really good smoothies actually. And okay, this is one way of joining objects, but of course we can actually join the already existing objects we made beforehand. So let us now join the head, the tail and the body. So first I will select the head, then I will select the body and press Ctrl J. I actually join the head to the body and you can see it moves along, similar to the torsos we made. But in edit mode, with selecting them with L, I can move head and body individually, which is pretty good because if we want to position it later, we can do it pretty easily. Okay, once again I'll select the tail and then the body and press Ctrl J. You can see here it is called Seahorse body because we joined both head and tail to the body. But now let us actually add the eyes. So you go to the file, save, and then let us go and append. So under downloads, we have the seahorse eyes, and we're going to select it. So first, in the file, you'll find the blend file, and then clicking on the blend file will actually enter the workspace. So now, what we want to do is select the object folder. In here, of course, you have different parts, but we're going to select the eye as a whole. And you can see it is added to the scene, and it's it's like a helmet, a bit too big for him. Okay, but now, as you can see, I rotate it around, and I'm actually going to press the X-ray mode button up here, so I can see it positioned even through the mesh. But now, let me just move it on the X-axis to the side. And now the positioning begins. I want to rotate it correctly to my seahorse's head. And look at it, for example, from the front view. Bring it back. And just take some time to position it. Make sure to look at it from different sides. Take the lines of the reference, for example, how it lines up with the snout, how it lines up with the fins above, and use that as a reference to determine the scale and the position of the eye. Okay, let me look at it. Still a bit floaty. Let me look at it from the back. Yes, it needs to be a bit closer. And do not worry, feel free to make it intersect. Just the most important thing is that it fits good. And of course, now it's looking pretty nice. And what I want to do is actually change the viewport shading to like having it a bit rendered. And you can see how the eye actually looks like. It already has texture. And this is why I actually made the black part here. So the black part is sort of an eyelid. so it looks still very nice even when intersecting. And the tutorial how to make this is available on the Patreon, as I said before, but it will actually enhance the looks of our seahorse very much. So I will just also add the edit modifier, mirror modifier, and select the seahorse. And you can see how cute he looks like. Man, I can't wait for him to have details, colors. It can just get better and more fun from here. So, I want to thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, liking and sharing, since your friends and family probably want to start sculpting as well. So, see you soon. Bye bye.